What's going on, guys? My name is Omega and welcome back to another Apex Legends video. So today we're going to get right into the video because the new patch notes for Season 8 just went live. We got a bunch of new legend and weapon changes that I'm going to go over in today's video. Starting with Wraith. Wraith kind of got a nerf in Season 8 where her hitbox is actually going to be made a little bit bigger. There was a dev note here that basically said that Wraith has always been a popular pick just due to the amount of combat utility in her kit. They basically wanted to do a bunch of tweaks to kind of make her similar to the changes that Pathfinder had. But it also says Wraith now has a slightly larger hitbox than her fellow small legends, but the changes stay true to her model. And as you guys can see in this picture, there's really not like a bunch of huge differences between the hitboxes, but I definitely think that the increase in hitbox size is probably going to make Wraith a little bit weaker, or at least we hope so. Rampart also got a pretty big change, starting with her ultimate Sheila. Sheila's angle has been increased from 120 degrees to 180 degrees. Basically what that means is where you're actually able to aim when you're on Sheila, you'll now be able to turn a full 180 degrees instead of 120 degrees. Rampart's wall health in build phase was also increased from 1 HP to 45 HP. However, sniper bullets will be able to penetrate through the walls and deal damage to the player. Now, Horizon got a pretty big change. I wasn't expecting like this much of a nerf, but her gravity lift cooldown was increased from 21 seconds to 25 seconds, and the 15-second cooldown timer will now start when the gravity lift disappears. The note for this is that Horizon was released strong to the point where she rivals Wraith in win rate and pick rate. For the time being, we are monitoring her usage and checking whether or not the cooldown changes have a significant effect. So this might be too big of a nerf. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys were expecting something a little bit smaller for Horizon. Octane also got a change to his jump pad that basically allows you to have more options on, the distance or the length you travel when using his jump pad. Hitting the jump pad from a standing position will now launch players along a higher arc. From a crouch position, players will launch along a lower arc, meaning they'll fly lower but farther in the horizontal direction. Crypto had a change. We are no longer able to stick arc stars to friendly drones. I didn't even know that was like still in the game. It's been there for so long, like I think since Crypto was released. Now, Loba also got a pretty big buff that I honestly wasn't expecting because a lot of the devs were saying that they weren't going to touch Loba in the beginning of Season 8. But for Loba, loot inside unopened care packages is now visible with Eye for Quality and accessible through the Black Market Boutique. For Caustic, all gas now dissipates as soon as Caustic's team is eliminated. I thought this was like always supposed to happen, but maybe this was kind of like a bug that they just fixed in this patch. And Mirage also now has decoy footstep sound. So that's something that was supposed to be in the game during the Fight Night event and ended up like not going through for some reason. So this change is now going to be available in Season 8. A bunch of really good legend changes. We're gonna hop right into some of the weapon changes though, starting with the fully kitted weapon rotation for Season 8. In this season, we're gonna have the R301, the 3030 repeater, Mozambique, the longbow, and the Spitfire as the fully kitted weapon. Now, according to Bias12 on Twitter, he said the Kraber, Prowler, and Peacekeeper should be care package weapons in Season 8. And looking at the patch notes, they didn't mention anything about care package weapons, so I don't think those are going to be changing at all. It's one of the big changes they also made to just the attachments in general was they removed the golden barrel stabilizer from the loot pool. This isn't really like a huge change because the only reason golden barrel stabilizer was in the game was to reduce muzzle flash, and since Apex already reduced the muzzle flash for all weapons a couple months ago, the golden barrel stabilizer hasn't really been the most effective attachment in this game. Now, in terms of hop-ups, the double tap hop-up will be removed from the loot pool. G7 Scout is probably going to take a step back in this season and not be as overpowered as it has been in the last couple seasons, but one cool change that I'm definitely really excited for is that Anvil rounds hop-up will be added back into the loot pool. Now, this is something that we noticed from the 3030 test video that I talked about yesterday. I'm really glad that Anvil receivers are finally back. It was definitely one of my favorite hop-ups to put on both the R301 and the Flatline. Now, moving on to the Volt actually got a slight nerf in Season 8. The bullet damage was decreased from 16 to 15. I definitely think that was a good change because the Volt was a little bit too overpowered. I mean, it's definitely like kind of similar to the R99, but I think it's much easier to control than that gun, so I'm glad they actually made a change to the damage. The Alternator kind of got a buff here where the bullet damage was increased from 15 to 16. The Alternator is still one of my favorite SMGs in the game, so I'm glad that they did do a buff to that. The Spitfire got both a buff and a nerf. The bullet damage was increased from 18 to 19, but the reload speed was increased. So I don't know if this was to kind of give an extra buff to Rampart, because the Spitfire is obviously like one of the best guns to use when you're playing as Rampart. You already have a fast reload time from her passive, so maybe this extra damage was just to give a little more benefit to Rampart players. And the last big weapon change we got is that the EVA 8 got a buff to its fire rate, in which it was increased from 2.0 to 2.1. Now we also got a couple of bug fixes. I'm just going to show you guys them all on the screen right now, because I don't know how many of you guys have experienced these or even know that these existed in the first place. Probably one of the biggest that I see right here is the one for Loba, where it fixed a few exploitable areas on Kings Canyon that Loba was able to reach via her bracelet. We also have the issue with Havoc and Rampart's wall, where it says fix an issue causing the Havoc to have 100% accuracy when hip fired through Rampart's amp cover. I talked about that like 2 months ago, so it's pretty surprising, man, that this is just getting patched now. But yeah guys, that basically concludes today's video. Everything else on these patch notes, it's stuff that I have mentioned in other videos previously, so if you guys have missed those, make sure to go check out my last 2 or 3 videos uploaded to the channel. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Have a great day. Peace out.